Hey everybody, Rodney May here with another Challenger challenge for you as I commute back and forth to work in my Dodge Challenger. Good time for me to be able to talk about the things that have helped me and helped other people in the last 20 years of my counseling, teaching, and speaking. And so here's another episode for you. Whenever I think of something that would be pertinent or think of something that maybe I've interacted with someone earlier in the week or whatever, it gives me an idea to give one of these challenges. So the topic I want to talk about today is fear. Fear has been something that I've been interested in, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's something that I found to be kind of a big part of people's lives, my life included. I've seen fear be used in good ways, and then I've seen it be used in bad ways. And so I want to share some of that with you, some of the things I've learned about fear in my own life, how I've instilled good lessons about fear in my kids' lives, things like that, and those that I counsel and mentor and that sort of thing. So first off, fear is one of those things that can't be avoided. Everyone deals with fear on some level or another. And if pain is the great motivator, so to speak, fear would be its first cousin, I guess. The thing with pain is, if you think about it, pretty much everything we do, maybe everything we do, is either an attempt to avoid pain or to diminish or get away from it or stop it or something like that. Sometimes we can choose to endure a pain for a greater good, so to speak, because we don't want to feel the pain that may be larger than the smaller, maybe temporary pain that you are experiencing. Kind of like someone who, I know a guy that does competitive bodybuilding and competitive strongman competitions and whatever. So he will put his body through pain as he works out, as he lifts weights, things like that, in order to achieve a goal. And he sees the greater pain would not be achieving that goal. He doesn't want to, in his life, he doesn't want to go through life not being able to do those things. He enjoys that, and so he willingly, voluntarily puts his body through that temporary pain of working out hard and lifting weights and that sort of thing in order to avoid the pain of not reaching a goal, for example. Some of you may be experiencing minor pains, temporary pains of choosing not to go out to eat, for example, because you're trying to save money. So you're trying to avoid a larger overall future pain of not having enough money, not having enough finances for whatever, for a vacation or whatever. So you'll experience a smaller pain than that is not going out to eat or having to say no to your kids for something minor or something like that. So pain can be used, and pain can be used in a positive way, but fear is a little different, because fear in and of itself, it's been said, doesn't exist. It's just your imagination. Fear is a misunderstanding of the future is one way to say it. Michael Jordan, the great basketball player, he said just that. He said fear doesn't exist, and he believed that, and didn't mean he was never afraid of things. It just meant he never allowed it to control him. And he would even say when he wanted to do a basketball move that he'd never done before or something like that, he wouldn't let the fear of messing up or the fear of failing stop him from trying, that sort of thing. Fear can be used in good ways. It's wise to have respect of things. The Hebrew word, like in the Old Testament, the Hebrew word, or one form of it at least, fear and respect are synonymous. You can use the same word, fear and respect. To fear the Lord is to respect him. To fear a king is to respect a king. The way I've taught the boys at Pineview, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like if you are walking through the woods and you come up against a bear that could tear you apart, the reason you're afraid of that bear is because you respect its ability to hurt you. That's not a bad use of fear, right? That's not a bad way to use fear. Fear can be simply respect. If you are on a sports team, or if you're simply driving a car, like I'm driving a car right now. I'm using hands-free. I'm doing it safely. I got my seatbelt on, not because I'm deathly afraid of getting into a car accident, but I have a respect for what could happen if something were to go awry, if something bad were to happen. I don't disrespect the road or the car or the other cars on the road, that sort of thing. I don't speed like a madman, things like that. And so I have a healthy respect for driving. But fear also can be used in a negative way as well. I have seen too often, people waste real potential, like real actual, not just like these lofty dreams that are never going to amount to anything, but things that really could happen, things people actually could do if they put their mind to it, if they put their energy to it, if they decided to say, yes, I'm going to do that thing, and just started moving in a direction within reason. Obviously, you don't want to just be haphazardly going around without a plan. That's what a plan's for. It's to minimize some of that fear, being respectful of whatever project that you're looking at. But all too often, I've seen people say no, or slink back, or just all talk. You know anybody like that, where it's always talk. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but then they don't actually do anything. And I know there's different reasons for that, but I believe a big part of it, many times, is because they get afraid. They get afraid of whatever that thing is. They get afraid of the consequences if they mess up. They get afraid if things don't go right. Really, ultimately, what that all comes down to is, I believe anyway, they're afraid they don't have what it takes to face those things, to face those fears when bad things come up. I tell you what, it doesn't matter what project you're on, doesn't matter what you're doing, things are going to go wrong. It just happens. I've done lots of projects, I've done lots of business ventures, that sort of thing, and there isn't one of them where something didn't go wrong, where something didn't delay me, or something came up that was unexpected. And were there times where I thought, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this? Sure. Oh, that happens. That feeling, that thought, it does rear its ugly head more times than I care to admit. What I did with my kids is I wanted them to face fear in a healthy way. I wanted them to be able to build confidence just in life in general. I wanted them to be able to look at a goal or a challenge or a problem or an opportunity or a person or whatever it is. I wanted them to be able to face life, not foolishly, not saying I don't have any respect, I don't have any fear. No, I wanted them to look at life in a way where they could, yes, feel sometimes afraid, but still be able to move forward into that thing in spite of being afraid, in spite of being fearful. And what that does is, lo and behold, they will have victories. They will have victories over those things, and one step at a time, they will do better and better. And as you have more victories, that fear, not the respect part, but the terror goes down and down and down. That's one of the big reasons why we got into racing in Alaska. If you go to my website, I have a little video of it's actually me racing in my race car. But I should put some pictures of my son racing, because really it was for him. That's why we started racing. We did round track dirt car racing. He drove a mini modified. It was a 84 Toyota Celica is what it was. And it was had racing components and stuff like that. It had some racing engine parts and suspension and tires and all that sort of thing. I could go into that all day long. But it was a legit little race car, and they had the roll cage and stuff. And it was quick. It was a fast little car. It was faster than mine. Mine was called a dollar stock league or the dollar stock, what do you call it? Class. There it is. The dollar stock class. He was a mini modified. Anyway, I remember, and here's, I don't think this is just Alaska. I think this is your race tracks and race clubs in general. The legal age for racing in Alaska was 14. So you didn't have to have your permit yet, but you could race a race car. And so my son, he was actually 15 when he started, when we got him into racing and whatnot. But I tell you what, I still remember that first race day. I remember the anticipation. I remember the fear of strapping him in this race car. He had to have the fire-resistant suit. He had to have the racing helmet. He had to have the neck brace thing. He had a full roll cage in this thing. I had the quick-release steering wheel. So it was a little scary because here's my baby boy. Here's my baby boy here, and I am not riding with him. It's just, we practiced, but when time came, he strapped on his 5-point harness, and I remember him looking at me as a 15. He kind of looks up at me out the window after he climbed in through the window to get in, and he looks at me, and I could tell he had this anticipation, this fear in him, and I was scared. I'm going to send my little baby boy out in this racetrack with all these other drivers that have been doing it forever, and oh man, I just remember. But I knew I had to encourage him. I knew I had to push him. I knew I had to let him face those fears, face those things, so he could have opportunity to have victory after victory. And over time, and this is what happened, over time he raced for 3 years. And after time, after the first few races, he wasn't afraid anymore. Still had respect. Still had respect for the other drivers, for the track, for the car. But he didn't have that terror, in his face anymore. And I think, and I hope, he took that experience of racing and then took that confidence, and now he can apply it to real world applications when he's at job or school or in relationships and whatever. I wanted him to face his fears, and just through circumstances and whatnot, racing in Alaska was how we did it. It was how we did that for him. My daughter's had other ways where she has faced fears. For her, it's been more relational stuff, but I've helped her. I've helped her think through things and face those relational fears, because the other option is just slinking away. It's not facing them. It's, I'm going to avoid. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to do anything. And no, sometimes we have to stand up and we have to say, I can do this. But even if I can't, it's going to be okay. I'll be okay. And I think that's where a lot of the fear can kind of go away. It's knowing that things can go wrong. My son racing, he had a couple accidents. Things went wrong. He spun out one time and hit the brick wall, the concrete wall. That's not a good thing, and trashed the car pretty good. He got banged up a little bit, but not too bad. But then he launched the car. He got rubbed wrong and the wheel got caught, and he actually launched off the track, and on the back stretch where there is no wall, literally went airborne and hit the like the water retention, like the water there, and big old splash happened and that sort of thing. He broke his thumb in that accident and whatnot. He had to go to the hospital. He fainted. It's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. And but things can go wrong. But tell you what, that was not his last day racing. That was one of the first things that I remember thinking was, oh no, what if he says, Dad, I don't want to race anymore? What am I going to do? What am I going to do as his father? Would I allow him to just say, it's okay, son, you never have to face that again? Or would I push him and say, no, we need to get up and get moving and try again? Thankfully, he said he wanted to race again. I never had to force him. But, I would have strongly encouraged him, and I would have raised him that way. I would have said, no, son, you need to at least give it another go, But he didn't. He came back, and he still raced, and he did really well. He won Rookie of the Year his first year, and he won that year's race point championship. So he really did an amazing job, and I'm super proud of him for that. Same thing with my daughter. She's going to have relational issues. I mean, we all have relational issues. With her, she's a teenage girl. So right now, boys, and dad, doesn't even really hear about that, of course. But, she has to deal with issues. She has to deal with friendship issues and girls, and boys and whatever, because, she can't go through life just being told what to think and what to do and that sort of thing. She needs to stand up for herself. A book that I'm reading right now, and I'm beyond this chapter, but Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. His number one rule is stand up straight with your shoulders back. That's number one rule. And basically his premise with that is we need to face life head on. We need to face it standing up straight with our shoulders back. And I actually taught this in a way to the boys at Pineview, and I told them it doesn't mean you're a bully, it doesn't mean you're a bulldozer, but it means you go through life with confidence. Even if you have fears, you still move through life. If you're going through life all shrugged down and it's not going to work and woe is me, one, you're going to fall into the victim mentality, which is just an awful way to go through life. And being confident does not mean being cocky. It does not mean being narcissistic. It doesn't mean that you don't care about other people or anything like that. It just means you face a challenge, you face an opportunity, face people or whatever it is with confidence. There's a big difference between confidence and cockiness. And I've always gone through life quite confident. Doesn't mean I've always gotten everything right, not even close. But I try. I really do try. And if it doesn't work out, I understand, and I learn from my mistakes, and I keep moving forward. I remember that cartoon, The Robinsons, or Meet the Robinsons, or what was it? It was a cartoon with a little boy goes back in time. I think it was called Meet the Robinsons, I think. Well, kind of a theme through that whole cartoon is keep moving forward. His dad was a scientist and that sort of thing. And he had lots of failures and that sort of thing, but you just kept moving forward. You kept moving forward. I tell you, it really is the people that keep moving forward that are unstoppable. I mean, yes, they can fall down. Yes, they can fail. But if you just simply get up, brush yourself off, wash your face, and keep moving, yeah, you may have to change your direction a little bit. You may have to change a little bit of how you're going about something. That's what life lessons are for. But you keep moving forward. It's when you stop. It's when you give up. That's when you actually fail. It's not the failure itself. It's deciding to stop trying. That is the true failure. And I've tried to instill this in my own kids. I've tried to instill this in those that I mentor and counsel and teach and that sort of thing. So fear is something that we all have to deal with. It can be used for good if you use it in that respectful kind of way. Definitely fear is smart to look at projects soberly and look at them even of yourself. If you're trying to self-improve, know yourself. Socrates, he says, know thyself. Know yourself. Know what your challenges are. Know what your weaknesses are. Don't go into something saying, I can handle anything, rah, rah, rah. There may be some things you can't handle, and that's okay. You figure it out as you go, and you keep moving forward. You're going to make mistakes. That's kind of what, for me, it kind of takes care of the fear part, is I already anticipate problems, right? Sometimes it's like we have a fear like, oh no, what if something bad happens? Well, I'm not afraid of that because I'm already assuming something bad is going to happen. I'm not saying I'm a pessimist. I'm just saying I'm a realist. I'm saying when I enter a project, when I built a house in Alaska, or when I wrote my book, I knew I was going to face problems. I knew it was going to happen. So when they arose, it wasn't like, it's a big disaster and my life is over. No, it's more like, yeah, I knew something was going to come up. I didn't know what it was, but I did expect something to come up. So for me, just anticipating problems, fears, or not fears so much, but issues that'll come up, for me, that really helped. And it takes the fear away, or it lessens it at least. But don't ever let the terror of something stop you. Don't ever let the sheer terror of I'm not good enough, or I don't know enough, or what if problems come up, or what if this is going to cost me, whatever. Look at it soberly. Understand what the cost is going to be for whatever project you're looking at, even that's yourself, whatever that may be, and move forward. Keep moving forward, and fear will take care of itself. Or a better way to say it is fear will be put in its proper place. I think that's a good way to say it. I'm stopped, by the way. That's why I'm not looking and that sort of thing. All right, well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching this Challenger Challenge. Hopefully it was helpful to somebody. Sometimes I'm not even sure if it is, honestly. I'm just kind of rambling about stuff that has helped me or helped others. And so hopefully it's helpful to somebody. If you want to check out my website, you can. It's rodneymaywander.com. My email is rodneymaywander@gmail.com. And so check that out if you want to. And I gotta get some pictures of my son racing on there. I think that would be good. I might have a couple little videos too. All right, I'll see you about that. And thanks for watching, and God bless.